Okay, so we're talking about 2009's Avatar, the highest-grossing film of all time to this day. At the time, briefly not when Endgame had it for 2 weeks, and then they re-released it in China.
And then Cameron was like, I just can't let that stand.
Yeah. I will not have this.
Cameron releases this like thing about like Country Grass Marvel, you did it, and it says, nah, F it, I want my title back, and does it again.
Because what happened is they did it to Titanic, and he's like, all right, good job. And then they did it to Avatar, and he's like, okay, let's stop it.
but no.
And now Disney owns both of them. Good for you. Good for you, Walt. Good for
all
you.
Right, so look, I guess full spoilers for this movie that everyone saw in 2009. Literally everyone saw it because it made $2 billion.
Not true.
Who hadn't seen it on this podcast?
My fiance and her sister had not seen it.
Oh yeah,
I watched it with them for the first time this week.
And and I'm glad because they liked it. But going into it, they're like, it's just Pocahontas in space. I don't want to watch it. And they're not totally wrong, but it is a better movie than that, I think.
So we're going back to Pandora in response because Avatar: The Way of Water is finally coming out. So we are going to be talking about the first Avatar film today for your listening and viewing pleasure. What do we think about 2009's Avatar?
I think it's a pretty good movie. Rewatching it, the thing that stands out still is just how 13 years later it's still like one of the best looking movies ever made. And it is definitely, it's aged, but it's still like the best CGI of 2009. And there are movies that come out today that don't look as good as Avatar. And then we immediately watched the trailer for Way of Water after Avatar, and it is a significant upgrade to an already good looking movie. I think the story's fine. I think it's pretty good. I think the characters are mostly fine, pretty good. It is the world of Pandora itself that enraptures me. If it didn't look as good, I wouldn't care as much. I'm telling you that right now. It is the world itself that is the winner of this movie. Jake Sully is a totally fine protagonist. He's totally fine. It
is definitely the world that also enraptures me as well, because I have to agree, the story is decent. It's not a bad story. I enjoyed it. I was picking up a lot of different cues now because I haven't seen this movie since theaters, and I saw that movie twice in theaters. And as I'm rewatching it, I was like, that kind of okay. But once again, 13 plus years later, it still looks stunning. I mean, I wasn't like trying to find hiccups here and there, but there was like a few times where I'm like, okay, I could see how the CGI has aged a little bit, but at the exact same time, this movie is still freaking amazing. Like, I love the first time they go into the Hallelujah Mountains. Like, seeing those Hallelujah Mountains is like, that is freaking cool. That is amazing. And the only time I was like looking at those damn things was when I went to Animal Kingdom a few years ago when Pandora just opened. And I could see them in the distance. I'm like, how the F are they keeping those things up there? That is freaking cool.
Yeah. How are they doing that? Because that's really cool. I've never been there, but I've seen enough videos and pictures. I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Once you see it in person, you're just kind of like, oh, I get it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's still impressive.
It is still impressive.
It's very down to nothing.
It is still impressive. Don't get me wrong.
It is damn impressive. But Ryan is absolutely right. The world and the planet itself is what makes you want to stay. And the whole time watching this, and the nighttime scenes are my favorite scenes in this movie, just because of what the color does, how the particle effects, just everything about what the world of Pandora looks like, and just even the biodiversity, every creature, every monster we see, I'm like, that is so freaking cool. I remember when I first saw this movie, I walked out with my dad. I was like, I want to fly a Banshee. I want a Sky Dragon. And I'm watching this again. I'm like, I really, 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 really want a dragon. I want to fly a dragon so goddamn bad.
Did you guys laugh when there's like a deer looking creature who sits up and it's like that guy?
It bends its lips
like
out. Yeah.
It's got weird lips, and I definitely got it.
Sparks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm essentially saying the same thing as these other gentlemen, but it's all about the visual spectacle and impressiveness of the world. That is what Avatar hangs its hat on. It's not, richly developed characters or or strong story. Those are not the things that make Avatar great, because it's visually impressive and has a well thought out world that you want to spend time in, and that holds up. That still holds up to today, and that does make it a treat to enjoy.
Yeah, sorry, Ben, your trickling was making sparks dim away. Oh, he muted himself, then said something again. I have not seen this movie since theaters, and I remember really liking it, and I've always kind of I've always kind of known I liked it, whether or not the narrative of whatever narrative seeped into my brain just from being in the zeitgeist for so long of this movie is. I always knew that I liked it when I first saw it. Just haven't rewatched it. I watched the version. I bought this Blu-ray ages ago, and it's got the theatrical edition, the special edition re-release, with 8 minutes of bonus feature, 8 minutes of new footage, and then there's the collector's edition extended cut with 16 minutes of. I watched that one. Might have been a mistake because I don't remember what the differences were, because it's been so long.
Almost 3 hours long.
Yeah, it's 2:58 with the 16 minutes, and I'm like, hey, this is pretty good. I don't know what's different though. I probably shouldn't have done this. I just always had it in my mind that I want to do it. I really dig it. It's the kind of sincerity blockbuster, this kind of sincere blockbuster that we don't really get anymore. This is just one man doing something really insane, putting a ton of money into just a vanity project, frankly. And we don't really see that anymore. And I mean sincere because Cameron so desperately wishes he could be Jake Sully. Jake Sully is wish fulfillment for him. He wants to save the planet the same way Jake Sully saves Pandora. He's an environmentalist through and through. And it comes through in every aspect of the movie. The movie is very heavy-handed because of it, but it's coming from a place of such deep admiration for our own world that it's hard to fault it. Frankly, it's a good time. I like it. I still like it.
Yeah, I do too. I think for being a long movie, I think it's really well paced too. There are nice act structures. It's like a nice 3-act structure. Sorry, I was trying to say. I rewatching it. It's been a while, but it's very predictable. You know he's gonna give the tribe, and then he's gonna have to leave the tribe because they get found out, and he has to go save the tribe. It's really good. I honestly, if I'm being honest, I don't have a lot to say besides the visuals. I think Jake is fine, and it is very much a white savior movie, but for aliens. It's someone else talking.
So credit where credit's due. When people make the comp to Pocahontas, and that Jake Sully would be in the John Smith role, there's a big difference between the two, because what happens is that John Smith kind of comes in and is mediating / kind of trying to bend Pocahontas to seeing but the changes we want to bring can be good. Mm-hmm. Jake is being integrated completely into not only their culture and their way of life, but into a completely different way of thinking about his connection to others and the world. Mm-hmm. And because that becomes an entirely different part of his being, he is truly reborn to his own eyes, because he has connected to what is a biological system that is deeply entrenched in connecting all the things that live on the planet. So he has become part of that. He is different. And I think that the movie's credit is putting him in that position where he becomes one of them, because he absolutely does all the things. It's not an act, He
believes it. Yeah.
He believes everything.
Yahweh.
He becomes one of them truly. And I think that, again, to the movie's credit, they set up Megan was anticipating it. They set up a Cocoam scenario with Sute, which is Laz Alonso from The Boys, as you pointed out to me. Mother's Milk plays Sute, which you can really see now that I said it.
Yeah.
But they set up a Cocoam thing, so you're kind of anticipating the for that to break bad. But it really doesn't. It doesn't go that way. It goes into like he's distrusting of Jake, and he blames Jake, but he's also recognizing when Jake shows that he is truly one of them. And,
when he becomes his brother,
it goes its own other way with it. I'm honestly really sad that Sute dies in this movie, especially now knowing it's Laz Alonso. That makes me really sad.
Yeah. Goes out like a champ.
What I think that really helps the film to have something a little deeper to it. That being said, like so much of the script, especially with Stephen Lang's character, is like archetype city fairy tale level, like military bad man. Like you can't make him more prototype military bad man. Like he's the absolute peak maximum of what that can be, and it is like it's to get the point of the story across. And so it almost feels like there's a part of me that almost wishes this was like a fantastical tale they were telling to the kids like later down the road, and that's the interpretation of the story to make him so cartoonishly evil, is because like that was the perspective rather than like this is literally the person he was, because it's just so farcical to an extent. That it's hard to. I get what they're doing, and again, like if you put it into that like fairy tale fantasy space, I think it plays better for the broad strokes of the character archetypes that they're creating.
Yeah. When I was in I was taking a script writing class when I was at Mount Sac. This was years ago, and many times, and this was like 2 or 3 years after Avatar came out in 2000. I was there like 2011, 2012. My professor would constantly make jokes saying, "Do not write dialogue like this unless your name is James Cameron." He said he played that joke so many times because he would tell us about ways to write dialogue and to write character, and he's like, once again, don't do this unless your name is James Cameron, because if you're James Cameron, you make $1 billion. Just look at Avatar. He would point to that movie every single time. As I'm watching this movie, those words ring true in my head because, like, yeah, that character, the Colonel, it was just so comically, so comically archetypal. There's so many archetypes up the wazoo. Like, yikes. That's some writing, all right.
Yeah, Arlie Ermy, who's like the most famous military guy. Like, he's the guy who talks like this in all the movies, and like he's in Full Metal Jacket. Like he is the archetype for a military guy that everyone else tries to replicate and doesn't do as well. Because there's only one Arlie Ermy. There are so many types of these military guys in so many other movies. But again, like to Brandon, to agree with you about like in another movie, this would be an atrocious script. But the way James Cameron is able to I don't know, make it almost like it is like almost like a fantasy movie, right? It's like a fairy tale type movie. He is like the big bad villain who says like some really dumb shit, but like I vibe with it. I think like it makes you know who your enemy is from the get-go. So it's like it's not like, oh, could it be these other people? It's like, no, we know he's a bad guy. And sometimes that's okay in a movie. You know, it doesn't have to be like, oh, morally great. No, he just wants to murder all the Avatar people. And for a movie like this that's trying to be more straightforward, I think it does work. But it is extremely heavy-handed.
So, there's a couple of places that I want to bounce around to real quickly. With the, I'll do this. So, Gail's talking a bit about some of the inspirations for this film. There's this great discussion between George Lucas and James Cameron where they talk about how Star Wars and Avatar kind of come from the same place politically. Great stuff. I think people should watch that. There's a line that I really like in this movie that I never noticed. Boy, I hope it's not in the extended cut because again, I don't know what's different.
We'll tell you.
When Sam Worthington says, they find something they want from you, and then they antagonize you until you become the aggressor, and then you have to, and then they make it like this kind of holy war to wipe you out. I'm paraphrasing like crazy, but this is a line after he's discovered by Stephen Lang and Sigourney Weaver, and he are kind of like detoxing about being taken away, basically being arrested before they're arrested. I really like that line, and like that goes back to like the heavy-handedness of this story, but also like, Sparks said a little while ago, like this feels like the one for them Avatar, and Avatar: Way of Water feels like the one for me Avatar. Mm-hmm. At least that's kind of what we're getting. That feels like the kind of heavy-handedness that like the studio mandated or studio wanted to see, because Cameron maybe wanted to try something else, but like the studio was like, no, make this. You got to make this clear to people. If you want to do this, you got to make this clear. I'm only speculating. I'm sure I'm only half right, even if that. So,
just to go off of that, I don't think so, because James Cameron has kind of almost always had creative freedom for at least the last 20 years of his career, since like Terminator 2. So like I don't think that's it. I think he just, I mean, not to be mean, like all of his movies are like this, and that's not a bad thing. Like Titanic, it's very much like all the emotions are on the surface level and stuff. Like it is a very like heart-wrenching movie on the surface. Surface
actually, it's underwater.
See, we both said it at the same time. So like the like again, like I don't mind that the script is totally fine. I just really appreciate how fleshed out the world is.
Sure.
I'm so, anytime we're with the Na'vi, I'm into it. Once we get to the human people, it just loses for a little bit for me. I think Sigourney Weaver's in it and she's fine. I also think she has some like bad lines. Like she's like, I'm a hard ass with a heart of gold. Can't you tell?
Well, she's also like playing every stereotype when she first meets Jacob, just assuming, like stating with her mind like every little thing, like even when he's not in the room, just being like, there's a lot of good brain activity here, and she's like, surprise. Like just every condescending comment she could possibly make about Jake, whether he's present or not. And it's like, oh my god, okay, like good lord. And like I think with her character in particular, I feel like there's a failure because in a script sense, she should be our proxy of understanding the Na'vi better, not just through Jake, but also like her, rather than her like just blatant aggression towards the Marines and things, we should be getting a deeper sense of how she is connected, her personally, how she has been connected. The fact that we don't go into exploring like her connections with the Na'vi because of the school, like for her, not for Jake to hear and have exposition, but for her as a character, the fact that that doesn't happen makes the scene where they all treat her so gently and respectfully, which passes, kind of hollow to an extent, because we are not given tangibly in the film her connection to them through the school. We are told about it, we see photos of it, but we are not given it. And I think that her character gets done the most disservice by the script.
Mighty.
Ryan talked a little bit about the world of Pandora. I do really appreciate how James Cameron has thought of this world. It's probably one of the most detailed alien worlds I've ever seen because of just how much Cameron thought about this. This feels like very much like he's had answers for everything. The kind of like connected ecosystem is also really a heavy-handed metaphor, but like the way all the animals and all the Na'vi interact with the ecosystem and everything like that, very well fleshed out. There's also some really cool subtle hints that aren't really called to. Like the Na'vi have 4 long fingers, and the human Na'vi avatars have five like human hands. They have 5 fingers. I didn't notice that for a long time. It's not called out to till later. And I noticed it later. And I think that's pretty cool that they did that. The something else about that. Oh, the way that it looks unnatural that the Na'vi are in like human spaces. Like when Natiri is in the lab at the end, or when they're marching everyone out, how unnatural that looks is very effective to me.
You forget how big they are.
You forget the scale until they're right next to each other.
Yeah, and I think that's a really effective visual. How they don't look like they belong in that setting, because they don't. That's not where they belong.
The final part where it's just giant lady holding her little baby husband. Loved it. It reminded me of Bay the Blood Moon and Doug Ramsey from the X-Men. He has a big wife. You met them at Swords. He's like, oh, look at his big wife. Oh, they're cute.
Yeah, I think visually this movie is stunning. There's only one aspect of this movie that I think has aged in the time since, and that's the cloth simulation of when the Na'vi are wearing human clothes, not when they're wearing their Na'vi clothes. I think that's really
pamper shirt.
Yeah, I think that's kind of really where the CG is starting to you're starting to see the cracks in the CG there, but still very good, especially for the time.
Yeah, all their faces hold up so well.
Oh my god, the facial animations, like there's a lot of like hair, like you know, like cat faces and like expressions and like very, very subtle. And again, I can't believe this movie came out right at the same time that Tron Legacy did, because I think of the faces in that movie compared to this movie, like those are made of rubber. And like Neytiri, like she has like the smallest change in her eyes or a slight wry smile, and I'm like, man, that's a real character right there. And again, like 13 years later, it's still more impressive than movies that come out today, and we're getting a sequel to it that looks unfathomably good.
Look at Cats. Like Cats basically did.
That's not even fair.
I don't want to.
That's not even fair.
They screwed that VFX team over by just like shooting.
They shot them in
regular
street clothes without any kind of motion capture.
So like, rude.
Like you can't even like. Obviously, it would not have looked as good as Avatar. There's no world where it would have. But like, boy, did that team get shot in the foot on that one.
Gross.
But anyway, there's some really good. No, that's not the sentence I want to do. I want to talk about this note. Sorry. I noticed that the Na'vi are basically just naked. I don't believe. I'm sure there is. But I don't, like, if you told me, I wouldn't believe you that there is a costume designer for the Na'vi, because it feels like James Cameron just said, put a feather over the nipple and call it a day. Because that's basically what Neytiri is wearing. She's not wearing a top. Her necklace is covering the parts that would make this a rated R film.
Yeah.
And like, I found that. What'd you say?
But somebody has to still design that.
No, I know that, but I think there's as much thought as there is into this world. There is not as much thought put into, frankly, PG-13 alien clothing, because they are just naked animals.
Well, that's the thing. They're people who live in nature. I mean, Native Americans and people of olden times didn't. If you live in the woods, you don't wear a lot of clothing either. Like a lot of men are just they're shirtless. So that I personally don't have a problem with that part.
I didn't say I had a problem with it.
No,
I was just commenting on it.
No, I get it. I didn't think about that because like they're people who live in the woods and like they don't have a lot of clothing.
This is not the point. I thought we could suck on, so let's move on.
I was gonna say like I thought about that too, because in the sense that like the savage dialogue, the calling them savages hits to a very particular like what are we talking about kind of thing, and indigenous representation has gotten better post Avatar and was getting better certainly at the time of Avatar, but like I can get on board with the like being close to nature kind of thing, like why, but like a whole lot of indigenous tribes like, you know, have a range of like things that they wear for ceremonial purposes or for different weathers, different acclimats. And so I think there is, to the credit of the point that you were observing, Brandon, I do think there's room for a little bit more consideration of what the Na'vi are wearing, when and why. Maybe not necessarily for this film, but something I'm kind of hoping to see in the second one or the rest, because like they're going to different environments and kinds of things, and like you're not just always going to be naked, or mostly naked. And I think that there is some amount of credit to that, of like, again, like this is getting back to that conversation of like improving our representation of things, right? If this is very, very blatantly proxy to indigenous Americans. And if we're doing that, then we need to kind of consider a little bit more of like the relevance of representation and how to step away even visually, even subtly from savage imagery. Anyway,
that makes sense.
That being said, history's on the side of Avatar, because now diverse representation is so highly encouraged that if they go to Way of Water and they go to these other sequels and they bring in more diverse voices who want to bring more culturally relevant things that are more embracing of the fact of what we are paralleling in our real life and putting it on the screen, that can be really great. That can be really great for Avatar.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah. I think the worst thing in this script by far is the pulpy, totally unnecessary voiceover narration of Jake.
Oh yeah.
Specifically in the second half of the film. I think the opening over narration that he does to kind of get us up to speed and get us introduced is fine. And then I don't think we should have heard him again. I don't have a problem when it's a video log.
Yeah.
And we're hearing it over other shots and we're cutting to the video log again.
Yeah.
That's okay. I do have a problem when we're later in the film and we're only getting voiceover narration, seemingly just talking to us.
Yeah.
You could say that all of that is supposed to be the video log stuff, but I don't think it all fits.
That's
and it feels unnecessary, the amount that it's in the movie. We're running into like a Blade Runner territory where we're doing a little too much of the voiceover stuff.
Yeah, that's a super good point, because I agree. If it was all video log stuff, that makes sense. Specifically, one of my favorite scenes is when he's like, I've been doing this for 3 months. I don't know who I am anymore. That's a great thing. But also the beginning of the movie, it's just him narrating. So it's like, it doesn't make sense that he's narrating to us, then he's narrating in the movie, like actually in the movie.
Right. Yeah, and again, like, I think the opening one is okay. Like, I think it's kind of putting us in the right position for who he is and his mindset, and like getting us up to speed quickly on his brother and all that stuff. And I'm like, that's all fine. That makes sense to me. But there was a specific point where like we're somewhere in the third act, and he's talking about things he's learned. And like what that means to him, but it's not a video log. We never cut to a video log. It is just voiceover narration. And when it's like that, I just was like, do we need this? Is this adding anything right now? Because this feels like bullshit voiceover narration.
Like, what is he saying that we aren't seeing ourselves on screen?
Right.
Is he just reinforcing the things that we're just seeing on screen, basically?
Yeah. There's like there's a good, I'd say 2/3 of the time that the voiceover narration isn't working and isn't necessary, and then another third that is the like stuff that's for the video log and is like showing him progressively slipping away and recording what he's doing as he's slipping into being completely Na'vi.
Sure.
Yeah.
I really like Ryan alluded to it real quickly, but the bit where he's saying, I don't know what is, when he wakes up, when he's doing this for 3 months and he doesn't know if he's a Na'vi or if he's a human anymore. That line is starting to blur for him because he's being so enriched into the culture, and it's more freeing for him because he has use of his legs. And it talks a lot about that. That's my favorite monologue in this movie. I think that's awesome.
I think it's a very important thing of like how the character works, because again, like if it had just been like he really liked Neytiri and he decided to turn on the humans, I think that's far less meaningful. It does run too close to the white savior kind of thing. I don't think it has the emotional impact. It's the fact that like we're being shown that what is happening to him is him using the Na'vi body to, just like the rest of them do, connect to plants, connect to animals, connect to the voices of their past in trees. And that becomes a part of him. And so when he gets out of that into the human body, it's like, what even is this?
Yeah,
this is a joke.
He wakes up and like, he's used to being on Pandora where like it's so beautiful and there's like so much stuff. And then he wakes up in a metal box that's just gray.
In some ways, it's the Matrix.
Like so sad.
In some ways, it's the Matrix in reverse, except being in the Matrix is a good thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
The anti-Matrix. Yeah. The mechs, we didn't talk about mechs at all. Not only do I like mechs, I love giant knives that mechs get to hold, because I'm just imagining a human trying to hold that knife, and it's stupid and I love it. This is honestly one of my favorite interpretations of mechs like this. I love when it's like analog like this, when instead of you like have you being in the arms, it's like a 1-to-1, like a video game, like Punch Out almost. I love that design. I think it's really cool. Boy, when all those ships start flying, I'm like, man, this reminds me of Halo. But I'm like, he also made Aliens, and the inspiration from Halo is from Aliens, so it's all full circle. That final battle, pretty sweet, very sweet. The hundreds of dragons, of banshees. Oh yeah, Michelle Rodriguez is in this movie. She's fine. She's totally fine.
So like that's another, like, she's instrumental to their escape.
Yeah. And
I'm like, okay, so like the gunner who was really pissed that she pulled her ship away when they were firing on the tree, he didn't report her.
Yeah.
She didn't get in trouble for that. She's not being monitored for maybe being like sympathetic to the Na'vi, as Stephen Lang would absolutely be doing. Nah, that's fine. I forgot how effective and emotional the destruction of the tree is. It's a really great scene.
Da-na-na-na!
Oh yeah,
Bro.
Oh yeah.
James Horner, he's so good.
He can't help it.
Every single movie this man has made in the past, Willow came out, what, 30 years ago? Every single movie has that sting in it. Every single one. And I'm like, bro, it's a good stinger. It's copy and pasted a lot your movies, my man. Lucky it's so good.
I'm really sad that James Horner isn't going to be. I know it's a disciple of Horner who's doing the next one, but you know there's a tone that this movie has. The final song, "I See You," which plays over the credits, it has a lot. I really like the musical. I don't necessarily care for the lyrics, but the music in that song I really like. I think the main melody I think is what I'm trying to say is really cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to say real quickly because Ryan talked about the final battle. I just want to say that the line "Awa heard you" when everything looks bad and then they see all the animals coming. "Awa heard you," and Neytiri says, "Awesome."
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
I agree. Yes, Ben, you have something?
No, I was gonna say it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Rohirrim charging in Helm's Deep when Gandalf shows up and when all the animals charge. But also to go on Ryan's thing for the mechs. Rewatching this movie again and seeing those type of mechs, seeing those machines, the whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, a Gundam movie could work. We can do it. Because those, I mean, yes, those. I know they're making it, but still, it's just like it reframes me. It was like, man, they did this 13 years ago. A Gundam movie can work. But besides the point, the mechs look great. The robots look great. The machinery looks great. And I was going somewhere with this, but you're absolutely right. The way these mechs look and the way the machines are and how this entire troop of platoons or platoons, my God, why is my brain doing this, what I'm doing right now? When they're going to attack the tree, it is truly a very emotional moment. Even I was like, no, not that. Don't destroy the tree. Why are you destroying the tree, my man?
They effectively show you the importance of the tree. It's not we're telling you that this tree is important and then we're going to knock it down. It's like throughout the movie we are shown why that tree is important, and I think that's very
and of course
that makes that scene when they're tearing it down very effective.
Yeah, and of course my dumbass is going to like the tree burns.
Yeah, it's Elden Ring unfortunately didn't come out first.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, this movie does pack the emotional punch. Like when Jake wakes up in his avatar body and it's all ash. Like you see the ashes like falling like snow. And it's like, man, you see the true devastation of what happened. You can't even see 20 feet past in front of him. But thankfully his dragon's still there. And I know they're banshees or Ekrons or I forgot what they're called already.
Ekrons. Oh, banshees.
Yeah, banshees, but to me they're sky dragons. I don't care.
Yeah. The thing specifically that scene that really gets me is the mom going like and I'm like,
or even when the tree is being attacked and she comes to Jake and Grace with the knife. I'm thinking, oh, I forgot that she's the one who sets them free, and she's like coming up, looks like she's gonna stab him, and it's like, if you are one of us, help us, cut, get.
For me, one of my favorite lines is Jake when he's trying to convince them of the danger, and he says the sky people will come like it's when he's connecting to Awa and he's warning her and he's saying, look into my brain, the sky people, they will come like an eternal rain that will never end unless you show that they can be stopped. You have to do it now or they will just never ever stop coming. And I thought that was really good. Going back to the score, I do think the theme of Avatar, I guess it's the theme, could have been a little more pronounced in the movie because I heard it this time, but I heard it because I heard it in the trailer for the second one. And I was like, oh, there you are, theme. I don't think it's as clearly pronounced in this movie as it should be.
I agree. Yeah.
It was surprising to me to say this, but the Amazing Spider-Man theme is more pronounced than this one. James Horner makes some very good themes. I like him a lot. I like the score, but Sparks is right. That theme should be more pronounced than it is.
It's a little buried.
Yeah.
So in my memory, when we were talking about, the return of Stephen Lang for The Way of Water, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I think he fell off a cliff. His death was ambiguous. It's not ambiguous. He's dead. He was shot with 2 arrows that kill him in an hour, and he had his mask on.
1 minute.
Sorry. Is it 1 minute?
The
neurotoxin kills him in 1 minute?
In 1 minute.
Oh, yeah. See, like, and then the mask is off also, and he's supposed to die in 12 minutes from that. So, like, he's done.
Yeah.
He's dead.
So, I want us to, like, finish talking about Avatar, and then I just want us to speculate about Avatar 2, because those trailers, now that I know, are kind of wild. Grace dies. She doesn't get her body transported into the Avatar body. Spoiler alert for the trailers of Avatar 2, Sigourney Weaver's in the movie. So is Stephen Lang's Quaritch. Very interesting where they're both ending up. It's so crazy that it took 13 years to get the second one.
There's a line in that same scene that Sparks was talking about when Jake is trying to when Jake is praying to Awa. They killed our mother. I really like that line because it says a lot. It says a lot. If I am remembering the line correctly, and I might not be, but if he truly does say they killed our mother, like I thought I heard, that means he has disassociated himself from the people who are attacking Pandora, but still considers the green of Earth that he never saw to be his. I thought that's a pretty cool line that tells a lot about a person's character.
Yeah, and it is, even though again you can see the trajectory of his character, it is nice seeing him be like, oh man, like this stuff is important. I used to just be big old meathead, like a gunman, but like spirituality and being connected to something is important.
And we talk about kind of the predictability of the script, which it is. But there's one thing that I'm really happy they didn't do, which is that Sigourney Weaver doesn't feel betrayed by Jake. Mm-hmm. You know, when it's revealed that Jake has been, she always knew. She knew. She just didn't care. She needed him. And so when it's revealed when Lang pulls up the thing and there it is, she has this moment where she puts his hand on his shoulder, like, it's fine. We're beat.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I think it could have used a moment, but what I do like about the movie is that the guy on her team learns that he's in the room with Lang telling him information.
Max.
Mm-hmm. And then without telling Jake why, they say they're just like, well, I want to get out from under their thumb. We're packing up, we're moving. And they move all the stuff. And they don't confront him about it. They don't talk to him about it. They don't say like, don't talk to him or that kind of thing. They know he's very, very important to their research and what they're doing and the Na'vi right now. So they don't want to ruin relations with him, but they can't have him just regularly going and informing. So that the move off site is a really smart, judicious way to okay, let's hope that enough exposure away from him and with the Na'vi and us is going to change him, and it does. And yeah, the video log thing, you're right. Like she's not surprised by it, and I think the important part of it is that she's just like. It's not even one of the times where he was reporting information to them. He was just talking. Yeah. But they had it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the nope, it's gone. Shit. I was just about to write it down. I had it. All right.
Into Pandora.
Gail, I'm not going to answer that. That's a weird question that I have no idea how to answer that.
I'm assuming that because they were cold. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I guess so.
Because it's got to be, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that this movie has a lot going for it, and I think people deserve. I think the general audience does really like this movie because it's made a buttload of money every single time it's re-released. So I guess they don't need it, but maybe Film Twitter needs to give this a rewatch and reevaluate this film because honestly it's not as bad as history is trying to remember it as.
Yeah, I don't.
I think literally everything I've ever seen people say about the script is bad, the story is bad for these parts is mostly accurate and I think a fair read. Is the film as a whole better than those parts? Yes.
Yeah.
I think it is.
I specifically I know people I follow on Twitter, people of color mostly. They're like, I don't want to watch Avatar because it's just a white savior movie, and it is. There is no denying that is a part of the movie. There's a white dude coming to save these other people who can't save themselves in a way. And there's some people who they don't want to watch movies like that. And I get it. 100% get it. I think that is being I think it's giving the movie the disservice because it is I think it is a feat that this thing exists the way it does and how beautiful it looks. And James Cameron wanted to tell a story of environmentalism, but he also did it in a way where you have to have like, you know, native people and someone has to come save them. So like, you know, that is a push and pull that just like, again, like that's just something that's on you if you want to watch something like that. So like I can't fault anyone who doesn't want to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder if it would it wouldn't change a lot, but like if it would at least be a slightly more acceptable, like the way they're going about the story, if simply Jake were not white and a person of color, just to integrate more to being, again, like talking about,
because all of the Avatar, all the Avatar actors, Zoe Saldana, Laws, CCH Pounder, Wes Studi, who's an Indian actor, they're all people of color playing the Na'vi. There aren't white people playing the Na'vi. So right. Like it is there. That is a part of the movie,
right?
But like again, like I think you can give movies credit while still having you know critical stuff to say about it.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything else unless I can remember that point.
I really, the whole time I was watching this, I was more enraptured about how the world looks, because it's been, once again, over 13 years since I've last seen this movie in theaters. And now that I'm an adult, I could definitely see the more heavy-handed themes, like Gail was talking about, how this film takes a lot of inspiration from when the Europeans came to the Americas. And it's very plainly there to see. I don't know. Well, I think I know why, because the education system didn't teach me how bad it truly was when I was growing up. Now I know a little better. I'm watching this firsthand. I'm like, yikes. But the technological feat that this movie did is still there. I mean, yes, there's problems with the script, there's problems with the story. I'm not debating that. But the fact that this film looks the way it does, with how James Cameron got a bunch of artists to create this place, to create the language, create the creatures and everything around it, I'm excited to see what else. We only get little in this film, in 2009 Avatar, we get little snippets of other different climates. We get the plains, we get the people who are on the cliffs with the banshees. But now I'm really excited for Way of Water, because I love how this ocean looks just from the trailers. I am ecstatic to see what kind of things Cameron can imagine with the marine life. I've always been fascinated with going into the ocean. I think exploring the ocean, while terrifying, is also majestic, because there are things down there that's like, how do you live and how have you survived this long? It is amazing. It is glorious. So, or like at least our oceans are glorious. But I'm excited. I honest to goodness cannot wait to see what happens in Way of Water.
I like the credit sequence too, because it's just like, look how badass our VFX artists are. Look at these mountains. Look at that river. Isn't that incredible? And I'm like, yeah, James, it is. It really is. It just like that. Just looks like a real place. Like, well, some of the like, obviously, like the Na'vi look really good, but like I know they're not real. Like some of those vistas, that could just be a real place. That's how good it looks. And again, this was 13 years ago. The Way of Water trailer, like that, everything just looks real. Those are real people. That's a real water flowing. Those are real underwater dragons. It's incredible. Can we talk about Avatar 2 now, or just you guys have final thoughts? Sorry.
I was actually gonna ask, do we want to rate it?
Oh yeah, sure. Oh. Do you have anything else final to say first?
No, I think overall, I think you guys covered it pretty well. Like it really does come down to that, you know, it is a technological feat in the hands of a master filmmaker, and for that, it extends past its faults.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
What would you rate it?
Yeah.
I would give it an 8.
It's an 8.
Yeah, I would say the same too. 8.
Bang, bang,
8 as well from me. So 8 all around.
That's a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
Well, you know, next year, Sparks, we need to talk about making that perfect 10 slideshow or a video that we should do. If we all give everything perfect 10s, we should make a little thing like woo.
Oh hell yeah! Oh yeah, we can do that in OBS. Easy money.
That'd be fun.
Oh, yeah.
So Avatar 2, Avatar: The Way of Water.
So Grace is now a 15-year-old daughter of Jake Sully. When him and Neytiri had a kid, somehow Yahweh was like, "I want Grace to be back alive. Here you go," because she's now part of. Oh, this really reminded me of Krakoa. Super hard how Krakoa is now interconnected with all the X-Men. I'm like, damn, like I really like that. I am the thing I am most fascinated about is Stephen Lang's character. Because Ben, I don't know if you caught this, but he's an avatar in one of the trailers.
Oh no, I saw. He crushes his own skull.
Yeah, I think that's the dopest thing on the planet.
Oh no, it's badass, but at the exact same time, it's like, how? You dead. Dead.
Here's what I'm thinking. Here's my fun theory how that happens. Because like he clearly becomes an avatar. That is the thing that happens in the movie, right? So how does that happen? I have a feeling that the government, the military, took over the avatar program from Grace and all them, and now they're using it in evil ways. So we see multiple evil avatar people. So like they can't fight the avatars on their own. They have to become who they hate so they can fight them to be stronger with their carbon density bones or whatever the hell they said. That's funny. I love that.
Naturally occurring carbon fiber.
Yeah, carbon fiber. That's hilarious. Yeah, like an evil avatar program is such a cool idea. I love that idea. Any theories about that?
Here's the idea that it's not going to be that I just had, and I kind of like it. Stephen Lang is a ghost in the machine, and his mind was computerized, and he is unknowing to people. This was not on purpose. He has infected the mind of a Na'vi, so he becomes like this evil like ghost in the machine. That'd be really fun. That's not it. It's definitely not it, but I think that'd be fun.
Okay, so like my favorite ever since my fiance's sister said it the other night is that it should be Stephen Lang's twin brother who was a scientist and working on getting a Na'vi body in the program, and his brother was now murdered on the planet, so he's got to take over a Na'vi body and go at.
I really, really want that to be it.
I think that's poetry.
I think that is.
Like he sees his brother's skull and he destroys it.
Yeah. You were too weak, brother. I won't. Yeah, I just think that's an incredible idea that like the villains will also be avatars. Now I have one not worry, but I'm worried that the story will not be more in depth than I want it to be, just like Avatar 1. Because it's very much a thing of like, hey, we need to stop the humans from destroying our planet. And if it's just going to be that again, then it'll be another, hey, it's really good looking visually, but it's kind of a shallow story. Shallow water, maybe. The thing I'm not worried about on the counter my own take is this is a over 3 hour long movie where we have not seen a lot of the movie. The trailers are showing us the same scenes from different angles, like just more of the same scenes. So again, hearing that this movie is way crazier and bigger than the first one, it is more mystical and like anime. They're not showing us any of that. So that makes me really excited. There's a brief scene where Grace Na'vi is doing almost like a Kamehameha, like she's lighting up. Now I'm super curious about all that stuff. Otherwise, like I am a little worried that the story will just be we need to team up to fight humans again.
I think there's still a really big question mark on that human boy running around with them.
Did he just adopt a kid?
That's a really, really big question mark.
Yeah.
As far as we know, he adopted a human boy.
Yeah, but from the context is still
weird,
like baffling.
Yeah,
frankly.
I mean, part of me.
What I'll say, I just real quick, Ben. I want to counter to what Ryan was saying, which is that I think that it's fully possible for the story to continue to be the humans are coming to try to take our resources, and that can be the story of 2 through 7 of Avatar, and that's fine because colonizers will just do that. They'll just keep coming and they'll find new ways to do it.
That's true.
What matters is what else is happening in the movie, even if those are the stakes.
No, absolutely.
And like, what else is that going to be? So like, as long as all of that is more full and rich and alive and fleshed out like the world of Pandora itself, then we're fine. The stakes can still be the humans are coming to try and take the stuff from the Na'vi or wipe them out or take their resources or get the unobtainium, whatever. It's all about how you're telling that story in this. Also, it seems what I think is probably going to end up being generational storytelling because we're getting their kids, and I don't think we're going to get to Avatar 5 and it'll still be Jake and Zoe Saldana at the lead. I think it's going to be their kids or grandkids. Like, we're going to go through generations of what's happening here on Pandora.
Yeah. Sam Worthington recently said that 3 is done shooting. He has to go back for additional photography, but 3 is done shooting. So at least we're going to get 3 because this movie, this movie has to make $1 zillion to break even. Come on, James. I don't know.
This one is still not more expensive than Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Fun fact. Still expensive though.
I just like how was
How,
that
right?
the most expensive movie?
There's a lot of special.
Pirates 4?
Here's the thing.
4?
Here's the thing. I think Johnny Depp, that's at least 20-25 million alone right there for him, right? So many special effects. That movie is hardcore. Like, I'm a ghost pirate, man, and we're doing ocean shit.
Pirates 4 is more expensive than Pirates 5, and I don't get that.
Wait, you said Pirates 4 is more expensive than 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, on Stranger. What was the last one called? Dead Man
Tell No Tales.
Okay, I was mixing them up. Oh, that is weird.
Yes, it's weird.
That is weird.
Pirates 4 is the most expensive movie.
There's some fraud happening.
You're right. Weird.
There's some tax man. You got to go check up on Jerry Bruckheimer.
Pirates 3 at least filmed on location in China for part of it, and somehow isn't more expensive than Pirates 4.
And that movie's hella expensive.
And Pirates 3 looks very good.
Damn, that is a wild thing to learn today. Wow.
Davy Jones isn't even in Pirates 4.
That's so
They don't even have to animate him in Pirates 4. How is that the most expensive movie?
It's weird. All those mermaids, man. They did it.
It's the actor that played Gibbs.
It's the actor that played Gibbs.
He demanded all the money.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Avatar 2. I'm really hopeful because we, as Ryan said, that we're really just seeing the same scenes over and over again in different ways in a different order. So there's something Cameron isn't showing us in the trailers, and I have to hope that's proof. I hope that is proof that there is more to this movie than there was to the first film. Like I said, it like Spark said, it feels like Avatar 1 was the one for me, was the one for them. This is the one for me. And that's what I want to see. I want to see Cameron do that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think this is going to be like a soft reboot. And I know it's a weird thing to say, but like, I think a lot of people who maybe didn't see the first Avatar are going to come into this one because it's been so long. And I think it'll do a similar story to set up what the rest of the story is.
Sure.
I will say that I will say this. I think that part of the story of this movie, I'm extrapolating from the trailers, is that the Na'vi we know from from Avatar, the main ones that are her tribe, Jake Sully's tribe, they lose their home.
Yeah,
like they absolutely, it is gone now. Stephen Lang comes back in with his full force and might and whatever, and he wipes out everything that was there. And now they have to relocate and find a new way of living completely. And right. And I think that is different from the first one, right? That is about like the effects of colonialization pushing you out, pushing you away from your home, your ancestral home, and forcing you to find a new way.
Couldn't you say that's what happened to the Earthlings going on Pandora, though? The humans on Pandora?
No, because they're there for bullshit.
I'm kidding.
But like that is, a different aspect of that side of colonialization storytelling and what they can do with it and where it could go. So
I think that there's two notes actually. There's one note I want to bring up from Avatar 1. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to mention it. I think the shot whenever the atmosphere changes, like you see like human atmosphere go into Pandora or Pandoran atmosphere come into, I think that's a really cool visual.
Yeah, every time it's there.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
Oh yeah, and it's brief, but like you see, because he doesn't use his legs, but like the gravity on Pandora is even weaker, so his legs over time get shriveled. And there's that one scene where he's like his like they're just like bone. They look like they're like this, like it's just bones on meat.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. And it is cool to like the most expensive or the most profitable movie ever made. And like our main character is disabled. That is really cool. Of course, he turns into an avatar, so he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. Right. But like that is a really cool like progressive thing. That was like before, like it is like the norm to just include people because everyone exists. Like James Cameron made it a point of like, no, like this is a guy in a wheelchair. I'm like, I think that's important.
But you're right. I'm only going to push back a little to say like part of that is like where it's drawn back is that his disability is a story point.
Yeah, like
it is there to motivate his actions, both in terms of, honestly, at first, in terms of wanting to do the military thing, so in the real world he'll get his legs back, and to want to be a Na'vi because he has legs.
Yeah.
So like it's used in a way where it's like that's not just part of him; it is like actively the thing he is trying to change about himself.
Yeah.
And so like yes and no in representation terms.
That's that's fair because he is trying to like fix himself. Yeah.
Gail as an interesting question. Do you guys think it will make as much as the first?
Not a chance.
No.
Look, I'm not one to bet against James Cameron. I don't think it's likely that this can make 2.3 is it at right now? 2 point something?
A lot.
Might be at 2.7, honestly, after the last re-release. But I don't think it'll get that high. I think it could potentially beat Titanic.
I do.
Yeah.
I do think.
I don't think it beats Endgame.
I don't think it beats Endgame.
I don't think so. Like, I think there are enough people who are just not interested. Like, frankly, like even for spectacle, even for the idea of seeing it,
because it's a known quantity now.
There's enough people who are not interested enough to go to the theater and spend money on it. There are people who are going to wait for it to show up on Disney Plus.
And that 3:10 runtime is a lot, and that will hurt some people who they just don't like long movies too.
I will say, so two things. So two kind of points that it's important for us to remember. One, it made $70 million the last time Avatar was released in theaters, which was like a couple months ago. And two, this is going to be the first Disney-owned movie to be released in China since 2019. China loves Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that could help.
And, Cameron said it has to become the third or fourth highest grossing movie of all time to make its money back. And that is an unfathomable, like, request.
Yeah.
Like, hey, the whole world has to see my movie again or else I'm done. Like, that's kind of like, man, that's a lot of pressure, James. Like,
and then you'd have to make the next few, because I know we know he's filming 4. They could cancel that, but like 3 would have to be made at a loss if this one doesn't break even.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Plenty of people that know, give it 3 months and it's on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that won't be so true with Way of Water. Maybe it's 5, but they know, wait it out. It'll be there. And if they're not interested, they're not interested. I do think there will be an amount of people that aren't. I don't think it's going to pull in the numbers that the original did.
Because again, like that first Avatar is like, oh, we don't know what this is, but now people know it's about blue people, and just some people just don't.
No,
care about that.
It's not even just that. Like I remember the first movie. There was this whole narrative going around that movie that like when it was out, and it was. It was doing numbers. It had some legs. It had the kind of legs that we used to see back then, where movies would just be popular and stay in theaters for months after months after months after months. And Cameron said, it's like, as it was inching closer to Titanic, he said, either it doesn't beat Titanic and I have the highest grossing film of all time, or it does beat Titanic and I have the highest grossing film of all time. Then it became a campaign. There was a campaign from Fox. Hey, keep going to see this movie to make it the highest grossing film of all time. That really helped. Same thing actually happened with Endgame. There was this whole campaign in the later months of Endgame to try to like push it over that hump to get it past Avatar. So like there was an insane amount of hype for Avatar to beat Titanic back then. Mm-hmm. It was a crazy time.
Importantly, Avatar's numbers are also boosted by 3D ticket sales.
Oh yeah,
and 3D ticket sales are not going to be as popular today.
It's true.
No, that's one of the reasons why I don't. I mean, part of me wants to say yes, Avatar could at least almost make that as number. It'll probably just be very shy of what it originally made. But the reason why, especially from what I remember, the reason why people kept going to see Avatar over and over and over again, or they saw it twice, was because they wanted to see it once in 3D and once in 2D, which is exactly what I did. I saw it in IMAX 3D, and that ticket was $20 a person back in 2009. Jump to 2022, that ticket price for an IMAX 3D film is probably $35, give or take.
I haven't been to an IMAX movie in years. I actually have no idea, because it was, you're right, $20 13 years ago. Jeez.
I will always remember my dad paying for 2 IMAX 3D tickets to see Avatar, and I was shocked that a move that I was like, that's $40, yikes!
Yeah.
So, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's good. I want to say, because it's Avatar, because the hype is kind of still there about, hey, remember this movie that became the highest grossing film of all time, and because it's such a visual spectacle, there are going to be people who was like, yeah, I want to see this in theaters. It looks amazing. It looks gorgeous. I'm here for a feast for the eyes. But Sparks is also correct. There's going to be people who are just not interested, and they're going to wait until it comes on Disney Plus, where they can pause it, go to the restroom, come back.
There are extenuating circumstances in moviegoing that just were not the case in 2009. True. Like Sparks has mentioned them, Ben has mentioned them, we've all mentioned them. There is streaming. Streaming was not this popular back then. There were the 3D ticket sales. That was a big deal with that movie. See it in 3D. It's a new form of 3D. Cameron is bringing back this film in 3D. No, I'm not seeing it in 3D. Nope. I'm good. So like I am interested to see what the numbers could be, because I feel like it is impossible to beat Avatar at this point, especially with how many re-releases Avatar has had to boost that number. I think it is impossible to beat that. I don't think it beats Endgame, but I do think there is a hype. And should there be a perfect storm, the kind of perfect storm that I'm kind of anticipating, honestly, there is the hype from the general audience to see this movie that could propel it potentially past Titanic. And I think that's probably as far as it would go if it went that high at all.
Gail brings up the point that China's in lockdown currently due to COVID. Let's be honest, our case numbers are going up here in Southern California. So like you could get a nasty backlash that is going to hurt Avatar: Way of Water. I hope that doesn't happen. Nobody wants to be in lockdown here, but I have seen those case numbers going up. So it might not like make the movie not go to theaters, but it might make less people go. So, you know, it's hard to say. I think what could happen is that Way of Water might be really, really good, and word of mouth might help. If it's really, really good, it's got an open runway for a bit in movie theaters that people might come in the new year. I mean, if they hear enough good stuff. Yeah. So if it's really good, then it might get people to put the asses in seats, and it might work. More importantly, if it is good and some people held out and waited for Disney Plus, when the third one comes around, that might do it. Yeah. If this one is good, the third one might benefit from it.
There's
I was just going to say, Sparks is really right that it has almost a free run. Its only competition is Megan.
Remember, Aquaman comes out this December. Remember Aquaman?
No, it comes out next year.
I know, I'm joking. It makes me sad.
Oh, sorry. That would have been its competition, frankly. But like, you know, it's got, from when it comes out, it's got a free run to just do numbers for a couple of months before Ant-Man comes out.
It does. And who knows, like maybe because if like Spark said, COVID cases are rising here in Southern California. People might not want to go see go to the movies again. But once and Disney might see this, and they'll still keep it in theaters, take it out, and then once cases start dropping and people start going out again, they might re-release it again. There's always a chance that they'll do that. It's like, hey, if you didn't see it the first time, or if you did go see it the first time, go see it again, or see it for the first time. Who knows? See it in 3D, or if they are going to do a 3D, I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me if we see Way of Water have a longer theatrical run than we have seen. Since Top Gun Maverick. I
was going to say Top Gun this year.
But it wouldn't surprise me if but Top Gun Maverick kept being in theaters and even came out on Blu-ray and like Vudu and all that kind of stuff. I think they might hold back physical and streaming releases even past the window that they usually do if they really want to push Way of Water.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're all kind of in agreement. Like best case scenario, it beats Titanic, but it doesn't get any higher.
Yeah, it just seems, because like again, Endgame is like a huge culmination, perfect storm, like a pop culture moment. And Avatar in a way was like groundbreaking technology that no one's ever seen, and like in a way, you can only do that once. You know, like you can only release Avatar once, and the second, no matter how good it could be, it's a known quantity, and some people they're not willing to take the chance again.
What's so interesting is at this point, Avatar: The Way of Water now kind of classifies as a legacy sequel, and normally those films would do better than their predecessor because, you know, there's all this hype of like, you know, there's these characters are coming back, these actors are coming back to these roles, and so they would do really well and better, and they would do better than the previous entry in that franchise. But because the previous entry in the Avatar franchise is the highest grossing film of all time, it's kind of impossible for The Way of Water to beat it.
I'll also say I really truly have no perspective on how people who were like 2 or 3 when the original came out feel about it at this point. What their interest level is in Way of Water. I have no idea what the younger generation really feels about Avatar or their desire to see this one. No clue. That could be a big number or very small.
I can help you. Willow Smith, wonderful artist, daughter of Will Smith. She has a Na'vi reference in one of her most popular songs. And she's like she's younger than us. So there is some cultural stuff going on there. She's putting it in a song like a couple years ago.
Interesting.
Who knows? Like honestly, Avatar might have been the furry trigger for a whole generation that Robin Hood was for us. So I don't know.
Good point.
God, that Sigourney Weaver waist was very thin. There's a quote that James Cameron said that I just found out about. Because he insisted that Neytiri have breasts. Like he was like, the women Avatar need to have breasts because he wanted them to be attractive to male audiences.
Well, yeah.
Find that funny.
Got some sick ass freaks out there.
All right. Book club?
There it is.
I was about to do the Elden Ring thing again.
No one was saying anything, and then I pushed the button. Sparks starts talking.
Well, he was doing us the thing, and I was like, "Well, it's not Elden Ring because that's what he does."
Yeah, I thought he was doing Elden Ring too, and I was like, "What is he doing?" Elden Ring?
It's my natural just go to. I'm like, it's the Elden Ring.
I mean, if you think about it, Home Tree does kind of remind me of the Ur Tree a little bit, just because it's so damn big.
Ooh, that's good synergy then.